Russia has no freedom of speech, right? And I'm like, okay, this is an interesting one to discuss.
It's okay. Have you enough food? Have you enough toilet roll? And I'm like, yeah, we have enough of both, actually. Yeah, thanks very much.
If you are a guest somewhere and you're attacking the host, then, find a different host.
Yeah.
So
there's a shortage of food in Russian supermarkets. Wow, the whole table was chuckling.
I think there is too much freedom of speech, to be honest. I mean, no, don't get me wrong.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast, AfroLev, Roaring Truths to Preserve Your Pretty Voice. And I am here with my favorite guests, of course, my wife, Hugh and Sarah. Could you please give us an introduction so that everyone can get acquainted? Let's start with Hugh.
Sure. My name's Hugh McEnany. I'm from Ireland, and I've been in Russia for a little over 17 years.
Oh, wow.
Most of my time, I'm helping Russian people speak English like an Irishman, and sometimes I'm acting, and sometimes I'm editing books, and I like the term Человек orchestra. I just came across it recently, so I do a little bit of everything. But
On suave.
most of the bread and butter. It sounds good, doesn't it?
It does.
Orchestra guy, yeah. Most of the time I'm teaching people English here.
All right. Sarah?
hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from the States, specifically from Indiana. I've been in Russia off and on for about 14 years. So I spent a year in Hungary, a year in Germany, but Russia keeps calling me back. My children were born here, and I'm an English teacher and literature teacher, and sometimes I dabble in editing and proofreading and writing and so on. But otherwise, just living life here.
It's nice. All right. And my wife?
Yes. Hi, my name is Khristina, and I'm from Russia, so I've been living here all my life. And I used to be an English teacher, but now I work in logistics. So a complete switch.
It's actually funny because she's doing my major now. So, we basically swapped. That's funny. All right, guys. Welcome to the podcast. As I said before, we're going to be talking about some interesting things that a lot of people typically find online about Russia. Some of them might be positive and some of them might be negative. But I decided to choose some of the craziest things that I could find on the internet about Russia. And our distinguished guests, Mr. Hugh McEnany and my wife, Khristina, and Sarah will give their take. This is basically Russia reacting to some of the things that you usually see online about Russia. So, guys, without further ado, I want to start with the first thing that I found. All right. Moscow is the only developed city in Russia. We're going to go around the table. I just want to get your thoughts and comment. If you agree, you disagree, tell us why. We'll start with our distinguished guest, Hugh. Yes.
Moscow is the most developed city in Russia. Okay, I haven't had too much experience with traveling around Russia, but I've been to a number of cities, including Samara, including St. Petersburg. My wife is from a place called Orlovsky Oblast, the Oriol region, so I've been to her city. And what I found when traveling to different parts of Russia is that Moscow is definitely very high in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of overall development, property development. But then people have told me, very recently, about Kazan, they've told me about Dobrograd, they've told me about Nizhny Novgorod, and I know people that are in these places that are either studying or working there or setting up businesses there. So to answer your point and your question, in my opinion, Moscow is the most developed city in Russia, but my frame of reference is quite limited. So it's honestly difficult for me to say based on the experience of having been 5 or 6 different Russian cities. Hard to know.
Yeah, so I was basically trying to ask if it's the only developed, because a lot of people say, show us the real Russia. Moscow is the only place that is extremely developed. So yeah, you talked about Samara and other places you also think have wonderful infrastructure, etc.
From my experience is more about Moscow. So from other people that have told me about Nizhny Novgorod, about Kazan, about Dobrograd, which was a city built recently, I think by an Armenian businessman, and is welcoming people from different parts of the world. Yeah. And Nizhny Novgorod is also very developed as far as I can tell. So from my experience, Moscow is very developed. But compared to, I can tell you my wife's hometown, for example, like Livny is the name of the town. There's like 50,000 people that live in the town, and it's primitive. I mean, the buses are primitive compared to Moscow. The transport system is primitive. The banking system is typically going to be online anyway, so it's as developed as it is going to be for anyone that has internet access.
Yes.
So that's in my opinion, Moscow. Yeah, it is top of the list.
Sarah?
I would say similar to what Hugh had said, but it's certainly not the only developed city. The most developed, yes, but not the only developed. So it also just depends on what kind of lifestyle you want to have. So for some people who, it's the work hard, play hard city.
Yes.
So if you want a more relaxed lifestyle, you can still find excellent infrastructure and transport and all the facilities you need, the cultural things you need in at least a dozen other cities that, just off the top of my head. But there are a lot of these kind of hidden gems around Russia as well that I myself have mostly been on the western side of Russia. But it is my plan to see more of the East in the next coming years and to discover a lot more of these hidden gems. But I think that Moscow, although it has so much to offer, that it can be a little too much for people as well, that it can be even overly convenient, too fast. And that for some people, it's much better to have even something a little less developed, but it would still have everything you need. So.
Okay. Yeah, so now from a Russian person.
That was born in Moscow, so.
Okay, all right. You have good experience. I mean, hope it's not the exact same answer. But,
no. Well, I agree with the guys that Moscow is on the top of the list, definitely. But of course, it's not the only developed city in Russia. I've been around Russia a lot. Like I traveled to St. Petersburg, Nizhny Novgorod, to Kazan. Also, I really like the place. And Novosibirsk, Izhevsk. So the Siberian cities, they're really cool. Like they have their own atmosphere. And yeah, I think any foreigner that wants to discover Russia should come to Siberia as well. Not just Moscow. It's a good like representation of Russia, but you should also see something really exotic like Siberia. Yeah. So what I usually see on the internet is that they show villages and then they say, "Oh, that's the real Russia." So it's not what you see in Moscow. It's like that's the way it is. Of course, there are villages, but they're everywhere in any country. So there are some underdeveloped places like these villages, but they exist everywhere. So.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I've heard different opinions, and of course, I have not traveled as much as she has, of course. And I'd like to actually experience all the places that people say are not as developed, or even some of the places that are also classified as pretty beautiful and really developed. So yes, that was a light one. We're going to get into other statements that I've found online. The next one is, there's a shortage of food in Russian supermarkets. Wow, the whole table was chuckling. Let's start with Sarah.
Let's just say anything you want, you can find it. Even from the day-to-day things to the exotic things, that you can find it anywhere. You might have to go to a special market if you want something more exotic, like some fruit from Thailand. But anything you want, you can find. There's different qualities of things. But I've never gone into a supermarket and said, "Oh, wait, where's the food?" Never. Only in my fridge have I asked where the food was.
Yeah, where's the food? Who ate my cake? So yeah. All right, Hugh?
I like Sarah, have never noticed a shortage of food on the shelves in any supermarket, unless of course you arrive at a local productie and it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night and you want a loaf of bread and it's not there. I mean, which is going to happen anywhere in the world. As I say to people, my cooking skills are about as good as my Chinese, so I don't often look for ingredients to do any particular cooking, but I certainly haven't noticed any deficit of anything on the shelves.
You know, that being said, like we're in Moscow now, so I really don't think that if there was a deficit that we would really see it here anyway.
It's true, yeah.
But I regularly go outside of Moscow and to like the regions, and My friends who have dachas different places as well, never once has this ever come up that there's not food. I mean, like you said, maybe at random times of the night or right before a truck comes in, the supply truck. But even in the regions, there's probably some times that happens, but I don't think that's the standard.
I see.
But people aren't queuing up outside shops to, when's the delivery coming? Where's my bread? I need to feed my family. Like, it certainly isn't anything to the extreme.
To that,
but it's
right?
the media. The media have a part to play. And so, the shelves are empty. And I had people, you probably had people as well. And we've probably all had people texting me and calling me. Is it okay? Have you enough food? Have you enough toilet roll? And I'm like, yeah, we have enough of both, actually. Thanks very much. We'll be fine. We have toothpaste as well. Yeah. And running
bidets,
water.
so we don't even need toilet paper.
Why is that
Oh, yeah, exactly.
There you go, yeah.
Why is that the first thing that people mention? Even during COVID, and in China, the first thing that everybody ran for was toilet paper.
I know, it's bizarre.
It's like they forgot they could take a bath.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't.
It's odd, isn't it?
It's an odd one. No, right?
I think here it was like during COVID, I think here it was toilet paper and buckwheat. So
Yeah.
things
The two
disappeared.
Yeah, you gotta survive with that, right?
Yeah, but generally shelves are never empty. And what I like the most, I think, is that a lot of supermarkets work 24/7. So even at night, if you're hungry, you can just go there and buy anything you want.
I see.
Or you can always find some 24/7 courier service and you can
yeah.
order and they'll bring it in
like,
15
yeah.
minutes or 30
Yes.
minutes or
Yeah,
something.
Very
So
convenient,
Yeah, as much as we don't like them on the roads.
yeah.
They're kind of annoying.
Yeah,
but
some
they're
horror
fast.
stories, I would say. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I have not seen this, but as I said before, I am based in Moscow. I don't know about the corners of Russia that might have a deficit, but I have not seen this with my own eyes. So yeah, I will explore. I will have to look in every corner and I'll get back to you. But
Good luck with that. That's going to take us some time. Yeah. See you in 10 years.
I'll contact you guys in 20 years.
If you see me hitching on the side of the road.
Yeah, it's a running
I'm off to check Vladivostok for some toilet roll. Yeah.
It's a running joke because a lot of my friends say, "Hey Andy, I'm coming to Russia." Right? I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "How long do I need to travel around and see everything that I need to see?" I'm like, "How many days?" I'm like,
Oh, you're
"Years,
counting
man."
in days.
Yeah.
You got to admire the optimism, you know?
The optimism, yeah. So, I mean, there's that.
By helicopter, how are they going to get around? Yeah?
I wonder. But getting into one that's a little bit more, well, I would say a common one. I see this everywhere. I guess even when I was coming to Russia, many people asked me this, and I see this online a lot. Russian people are racist. This is one that I see a lot. A lot of my friends also text me. I remember when I got married to my wife, they're like, "Your family's not going to accept you at all. You know, you're completely different." Funny enough, her her grandmother calls me Sinok. And sometimes she forgets my name and even calls me her late husband as well. So,
really?
Yeah. So we're very close.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. Not too late at night, did you?
So, I mean, I want to go around the table. I want to see what you guys think. You have lived here a while. Let's start with my wife this time. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I can say we're not racist at all. So I've never seen that. So I've never seen that happening to any foreigner. But again, I don't have so many foreign friends here, so I don't know their experience. But yeah, generally, no one in my circle of friends is racist. So we are real welcoming and we love foreigners. So I don't know. I think it's just a stereotype to make Russia look bad and Russian people look bad. So I don't think we're racist. What about you guys? You're foreigners. Do you have any experience like that?
I haven't had anyone be racist to me. Most of the time, I just blend in with everyone. So, but exactly.
Yeah.
But I can say that I think I understand why people say that Russians are racist. And it's because Russians are way more blunt about how they describe people and about their attitudes towards different groups of people. And so if historically and culturally that you've constantly met with the same group over and over and you keep having the same problems over and over, it doesn't make it racist. You're stating a fact. Or and most of the time people who say more blunt things about certain groups, it's because they have had personal negative experiences with these groups. And Russians are far more willing to say this and to mention this, and also because they don't want you to get hurt by whatever group this was. And so just, seeing a black man on the street and harassing him or something, I've never heard of this. Again, you go to the villages or something, maybe something like this will happen, but that's the same, again, in a lot of different countries, that if you look different, then you can be harassed by the people. And maybe it's kind of a celebrity type of harassment. Like in China, if you're a tall white person, then they're going to touch you and, try to play with your hair and things like this. And that doesn't make them racist. It makes them curious, So I think in this way, like stereotypes are also there for a reason. And they wouldn't be stereotypes if this wasn't... if this wasn't the case more often than not. Now, that doesn't mean that you should go into meeting every person with this kind of attitude, that everyone should have the chance to show who they are before you make a judgment. But it's an important distinction. It's not just judging people based on this physical appearance. I think for Russians, it goes much deeper. And that's why it appears racist to the West, but it's not really, I don't really view it that way here.
You?
There was one incident that just sprung to mind when I was coming out of a bar in Prospect Mira about, I'd say about 8 or 9 years ago. And there were two guys that I was actually smoking with and drinking with on the street and having a conversation with them. And we were all drunk and we were all in good form. And then a guy from Central Asia, and he may have been from Kazakhstan or Tajikistan, I'm not too sure where, but he walked past us, and these two guys, I can't remember their names, I think one of them might have been Ruslan. Basically, they started to kick him savagely on the street. And I mean, racism, xenophobia, whatever it may have been. And I went in, I was drunk, but I wasn't stupid drunk. And I got in the middle of them, and I said, what are you doing, guys? No, trying to play dumb tourist and curious foreigner. And I'm like, what are you doing, guys? What's going on here? And it gave him an opportunity to get up and run away and get away from being attacked. So that I've seen. I mean, I've had xenophobic situations before. Like, oh my God, people say, oh, you're American. Americanus, not Americanus. It's just, Zealandia, but also Willis this, Pachti, whatever, Disalet, Divinatsidlet. And then people are like, oh, we landed Sara show. So, the racism, the xenophobia, again, as Sarah has said, and as we all know, it depends on the person, depends on the individual, depends on the family, depends on so many different factors. That if people are going to be narrow-minded and close-minded in Moscow, they're going to be the exact same in Sydney or in Shanghai or in New York or whatever. So it's down to the individual, it's down to their upbringing, it's down to their background. I remember a cousin of mine from New York came over here with his African-American wife, Khristina. I think also Khristina, actually, coincidentally. And that was a long time. That was like 10 or 12 years. But she was curious, and there was a fear of, I don't know if you'd call it a fear, but a skepticism about coming to Russia and will everything be okay? And I met them in a restaurant. I stayed here for about 4 or 5 days, and thankfully she didn't have any negative experiences. Some people have, some people haven't. I mean, there's lots of African people here I know at the moment. Some of them have been here for a long time, 20, 30 years and very well settled here, and things are going well. And then there's other students that have come in here to study, and they've found it difficult. Is that because of racism? Is that because of xenophobia? Or is it just because they found it difficult to adapt to a new country? It's a very individual thing. So in my experience, it's been limited, very limited incidents of racism.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I guess it depends on the individual. I lived in China for almost a decade. I've experienced peak racism. So I understand that a lot of it skims from ignorance or maybe just fascination, as Sarah said. I mean, for me, I was this tall, big black dude in China. I'm obviously very visible. People wanted to touch my skin, see if it comes out. To which NBA team I play for, so it happens. But I mean, like, a lot of it isn't racist, but it can be. So I don't know. For me, I'm a bit desensitized because I felt like extreme versions of racism. But in Russia, strangely enough, The only racism I may have encountered was from other immigrants. So that's kind of strange for me because I'm like, hey, we're in the same boat here, you know? But Russian people generally, I've noticed, especially when you learn their culture, you speak their language, or you try to, you kind of bridge the gap, you know? So it's basically my take on it. Anything that anybody would like to add?
Yeah, I like to say that in Moscow, people really don't care whether you're a foreigner or not, because it's like so many things are going on in Moscow and everyone is like cocooned in their own world. So we don't really care who's around us. Like, too many things going on here.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point about if you're making an effort to learn the culture, the language, that, you know, it's not required that you become fluent in Russian or something, or that you give up having your expat friends or something. But the point is that you're making an effort and you're trying to respect the customs and traditions of that country.
Yes.
For any country that you live in. If you go to any country and you blatantly disrespect the customs and traditions there, then you're going to be seen negatively. And you can blame it on your skin or your nationality, but maybe it's just you.
That's a good point.
Maybe you're just annoying.
It's the same if you went to a Muslim country, if you go to a Christian country, and, you know, all of these things, that you're going to be seen in this negative light if you're not actively trying to participate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. All right, moving on to the next one. Right, this is an interesting one because I guess a lot of my friends, they always ask me this, and I've seen it online, and they say, Russia has no freedom of speech, right? And I'm like, okay, this is an interesting one to discuss. Hugh, you want to take this one?
Well, as I say to people, I'm an open book. I mean, you can Google Hugh McEnany and you'll find my opinion about what's going on in the world and about what's happening in Russia and what's happening in Ukraine. I am very far removed from ever being a political expert, and I don't plan on being a political expert, but I've expressed my opinion about Ukraine, about Russia, about what has happened, about the difficulties that people in Russia, in Ukraine, in many parts of the world have faced as a result of the war, and before that as well, when people were Pussy Riot, for example, or people Khodorkovsky, in different cases were happening. And I've been very public in my opinion about what I think about these different situations, and I'm still here. I haven't been arrested. I haven't been locked up. I mean, I'm only one person. Maybe if I was part of a movement of hundreds of people or thousands of people, it might be different and say, "Oh my God, he's leading a group of people and he's going against the government and he's going against Putin." I don't know, quite frankly, but I have never had any challenges about expressing my opinion or issues about expressing my opinion in Mother Russia, and I'm quite open. So.
As far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, that unless you are directly threatening someone or you're calling on others to, you know, attack or someone, then you have the right to say anything. You have the right to have your opinion. However, as a foreigner here, you are not allowed to participate in any kind of protest or demonstrations.
Yes.
This is not allowed. But honestly, I agree with it. If you are a guest somewhere and you're attacking the host, then, you know, find a different host. As far as I know, and I'm not really visible on social media. I don't really participate in most things. But that being said, I do know a lot of people here who actively voice their opinions. And in fact, I mean, we can look at a million different statistics of actually who is getting arrested for hate speech and for things they post online. And the numbers are staggeringly higher in the West than in Russia, of who's actually getting punished for just what they type online. And so, you know, I mean, I don't know the exact statistics off the top of my head. Anyone's welcome to look it up, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong about it. But I think the only people who are afraid to voice their opinion, it's because they're really calling for for some violence or something, and then they know that this is going to be brought back on them. Exactly.
I think there is too much freedom of speech, to be honest. I mean, no, don't get me wrong, but before everything with Ukraine started, I remember on TV you could turn it on and see like Euronews, these channels that basically give you anti-Russian propaganda 24/7. And there
yeah.
were so many channels like that. And I used to watch them because I thought it was cool. So, yeah, and I used to absorb this without like knowing it's against my country. So they got shut down eventually, but as a response to the West shutting down our channels like RT, Sputnik, etc. So I think if they hadn't done that, we wouldn't have done exactly the same. So yeah, and on TV, a lot of different opinions are voiced. So I've watched so many like programs, like political programs, and if you're against the what the government is doing, you can voice that as well. So you're not getting punished. The KGB is not going to knock on your door and like throw you into jail the same minutes. Not like that. Although it's pictured being that harsh in Russia, but I don't think it's like that. Yeah, unless you're violent. So, but I think
as you said,
but I think violence is banned anywhere. So
Yeah, I mean, as both of you have said, I mean, if you're going to be violent, something is definitely going to happen to you because you are basically causing chaos, right? So yeah, for me, it's like I've viewed a lot of things online, even the BRICS summit. I saw that Sky News was there. A lot of other foreign news outlets were allowed to come and broadcast and give their own opinions, which is funny because people always say that Russia has no freedom of speech. You know, they try to feed people an agenda. But there were so many different news companies that came through, and RT is blocked in the West. So that's also something that's very interesting. I don't know, the semantics behind this. I'm not so in tune. But logically thinking, I think if you allow people into your country to give another view, it means you're okay with them basically critiquing you. It's like going on a podcast and inviting somebody that's not pro-Russian. Of course, they're going to say something that is not, within your mindset, and then you might reject it, and you guys might go back and forth. But it's interesting because I saw Putin there with many of the news reporters. They were asking him these questions. He was answering them. And I was like, wow, okay. Because a lot of my friends who sent me this too, I was like, turn on channel 2. Tell me what you think. And they're like, oh, geez, why is he even allowing this? Because a lot of my friends even say that they don't know why people go at the Russian government as much. Because a lot of my Russian friends actually say the Russian government is actually not as hard on people as people may think, because they allow all these foreign entities into the country and say, oh, interview. What do you want to talk about? And then they go back, and then the paper has something negative, and it's there. They didn't block them from coming, so that's a pretty interesting one.
Something else to add. Whenever I ask expats myself, what do you like most about being in Russia? Almost unanimously, they say they love how free they are here.
That's true.
That this seems to be one of the unifying things that people come here for all different reasons, but that I have freedom to choose. I have more opportunity for work. I have a really amazingly wide selection of people that I can surround myself with.
Yes.
The ability to travel now is a little bit more limited, but
oh yeah.
But
you can
especially
follow him to Vladivostok.
Yeah.
When you're checking out the local
I'll
supermarkets.
be there on the helicopter, traveling to Russia within days.
But yeah, people often say that they feel more free to express themselves, and they don't feel that they have that they don't have to police themselves in what they say, or that they're not getting policed by friends and family. That you can't say that. That's not PC or something. And if somebody doesn't like what you say here, they're more likely to confront you about it, and not in an aggressive way, but because they want to debate you and discuss things and try to understand why you think that way. And I feel like that kind of conversation does not happen in the West anymore. That if I say something you disagree with, that's it. We're done. And maybe even like it gets aggressive or something.
Yeah. That's pretty true. Yeah.
One of my good friends, we've been friends since school, I think, since the first grade, and she's actually against what's happening right now. Like she's against our government, but we're still friends. Like I tried to understand her opinion. I expressed my opinion. We said, okay, let's not talk over and let's not just argue over politics. We're friends. Yeah, we're fine. So I'm willing to hear her point of view. And I also have a Polish friend. And in the beginning, when
I love this story.
when the military operation started, we kind of argued because she started supporting the other side, of course. I mean, she's from Poland.
She's Polish, so I mean, yeah.
So, but then we became friends again, like over some time. She understood my point. I understood her point. So fine, it doesn't intervene in our relationship. It's not like I want to completely cut her out of my life. No, she's my friend. Different opinion, but she's my friend. So,
yeah, I mean, this whole freedom of speech thing, it's quite interesting. It's fascinating. I don't really think freedom of speech really exists as much as people think it does. An example is that, I mean, if you go against a certain agenda, even in the West, you might be canceled, right? I have, even in my country, by the way, it's a new thing. People are very careful with wording, what they say to people that are a part of a specific community. I will not go into detail. Do not take down my channel, YouTube. Because I know you'll come for me. But people are removed, if they're against something. I don't really think that's free speech. Because free speech generally means I can say something, and if it's not really following the agenda, you should hear me out and let me express myself. I had an interesting conversation with Eddie. He basically interviewed me, Eddie Gonzalez. He has a YouTube channel, Moscow photographer. And he was talking about how it's fascinating because here he basically speaks on topics. He has his own YouTube channel. He can speak freely. And he doesn't have this fear of like, oh no, if I put this down, something's going to happen to me. They might cancel me. They might shadow ban me.
Knock on the door.
Knock on the door and be like, okay, we're removing you. So it's weird, but I feel like as time progresses, even in my country, everything is pretty much getting censored, So it's actually fascinating. Maybe they need to redefine what free speech is, and then I could probably assess it like that. But if we mean in terms of just like, okay, people can say whatever they want, I don't really think that's the case in the West. I don't really think that is the case because people still get removed. There's an agenda, you follow it. If you don't, you're removed. So, yes. I have a bonus one because actually we finished a lot earlier than I initially thought, which is good. I mean, we're pretty smooth. No one went on a tangent. So, is
that good? We're all smooth, yeah. We can be less smooth if you want. Do we need to be less smooth? Less polished?
You already came in with the suave name. I think everyone just followed suit, right? So I mean, I always ask this in all of my interviews, and I think I can probably ask it here too. I'll ask it again. Okay.
I'm getting worried now.
I know, me too.
You guys are panicking.
Should we exit now? Look at the time. Sorry. Gotta go.
No, it's not that. It's not that intense.
This is a family show, yeah. It's okay.
It's a family show. It's a family show. Yes. So I actually wanted to ask my wife first because I think I've already asked Hugh and Sarah this question. For people that want to come to Russia, people that are watching this right now, possibly watching Hugh somewhere. Hugh is everywhere. Yes, probably saw Hugh somewhere. You might recognize him.
I might have been the opening of a paper bag yesterday.
There you go. Right, or maybe you watched the Sarah interview. Maybe you watched his interview. All right. Maybe you want to move to Russia. Right? What advice would you give to a foreigner that is nervous about moving to Russia, or generally is asking, like, should I come?
So
what would you say?
Moving or visiting?
Moving. Yeah.
Okay, moving. The most important thing is paperwork, like legal work. Make sure your visa is on check and everything. So, make sure you work with the right agency that helps you with all the papers and immigration. That's number one. But I think it works for basically any country. So you got to be legal in the country. Yeah. So second thing, I don't know, just to be open for the experience you're gonna get here. Take the country for what it is. Like, don't try not to, come here with that, agenda that they've been feeding you in your home country. Just, be open for the experience here and to like it. And of course, bring warm clothes.
Very important.
Practical advice.
Yeah. I wish people told my mother this when I went to China, because I'm from Zimbabwe. I was born in Botswana. And I'm also still adapting to the cold. But in China, my mom was like, "It's gonna be cold, my son. Take as many warm things as possible." And basically, I just had a sweater, and people were like, "You know nothing about the snow, summer child." So
you've progressed. Today in the morning, he asked me about the weather, and I said it's +1. He's like, "It's warm."
He's becoming Musquishan, yes.
But guys, slight interruption from our sponsor, Double R, Russian Recce. Yes.
You have a sponsor?
Yeah, I'm just joking. But she was talking about.
There you go, bonus question. I'm sponsoring this.
He's sponsoring this podcast. No, actually, she's talking about legally coming here, and it kind of sprung to my mind. You have an avenue.
I do have an avenue. Yeah. Well, Real Russian Recce has been developed not so long ago, in the last couple of months. I'm frankly monetizing the services that I've been offering to people for quite some time. And people are asking me about bringing a car from Australia, for example, or importing trucks from Norway, or insuring my family, or as Khristina has said, the migration. I mean, it's migration, it's health insurance, it's medical insurance, it's schools, it's hospitals. The list is huge, and it's going to be the same for every country. I'm sick of seeing people get messed around, and you mentioned the legal people, and I know a number of people who have been messed around by a number of different lawyers. So you really have to be careful with the advice that you seek out. I and my business partner, Guy Eames, who's been here since the mid-90s, have recently created Real Russian Recce. Recce, like reconnaissance, so you do your research before you come over to a country. So basically, we organize both online and offline events to connect people with partners in payment processing, in migration, in insurance, in lots of different areas. But in the key parts are property and education and the migration red tape, and not see people get ripped off, because unfortunately it happens all the time, and it's not unique to Russia. Again, we make no secret about it here.
Well, especially they see a Westerner and they think, money.
It happens, and it's unfortunate that it does. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of activity in this area. There's people that have been in the relocation. I'm not in the relocation space. I'm in the connecting. I'm in the event management space at the moment. And I just want to see people get the right advice. So if people are, and if you want Real Russian Recce to sponsor this, you should have let me know. We could have done it for you. No problem. We could have organised that. We still can, by the way. But it might be a little bit late now to just spring it on you with the bonus question. Yeah.
I should have been a little bit more sneaky.
He was very subtle, wasn't he? Yeah. And now a word from our sponsors. Hello.
That was information.
Yeah. And all the preparation we had for today.
Okay, what I could have missed. This one.
Yeah, one more question. I can see.
Well, I guess to sum up with the question, should people move to Russia?
Yeah, but
That's
actually,
the question,
let's finish it off. But she actually, okay. I have another one that she actually pointed out. But yes, you can complete the question.
Well, the gist of it, as we all know, yes, move to Russia. Yes, do your research. Yes, do your homework. And yes, just be careful of people that are out to scam you and take your money, because it's going to happen. Now, I'm no angel, but I'm not out to rip people off either. So that's the way I look at it. What do you think?
I would say, if at all possible, come visit first, because people have their ideas of any country, and then they go there and it's not quite what they thought, or it's a little more difficult in some way, or I've definitely heard of people who only wanted to come here to visit, and then the next thing they know, they're trying to get a job here, trying to move their families.
Okay.
So try to visit, if at all possible, first. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I actually missed one. Thank you. All right. Yes. Russian people are rude and cold. What are your comments on this? I'm sorry, I might be a bit biased. My wife is in the room. Maybe I might have to miss this one. No, I'm just joking. You want to start, Hugh?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, Russian people are rude and cold. I mean, when I was here as a tourist in 2006, I had no experience of Russia besides vodka and Ivan Drago, which wasn't very Russian at all. I did find that people didn't smile very often, but I'm familiar with, as we probably all are, with the Russian expression. What is it? Only fools smile all the time, or something like that.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good expression. Yeah, and I did notice that there was like an oppressive feeling about some people that you meet, and it's not unique to Russia. It's such an individual characteristic of people. Things have certainly changed. I mean, the attitude, the middle class has, in my opinion, certainly grown and developed a lot since I arrived at first. I mean, there was a big extreme from between wealthy people and between people with less financial means. That's changed now. It's changed. And it's changed for the better. So it's blended more. Let's say less financial people with less money, people with the middle class, and people with the upper class income. So that has changed, and the attitude has become more positive. The infrastructure around us, the technology, the transport system is all very fantastically advanced, in my opinion, and that helps people to be happier as well. I mean, I remember applying for my my wife Olga. I mean, she's my savior. She applied for the temporary residency this way back in 2012. And it was such red tape. And I didn't envy her going through it. I didn't envy myself going through it. And I didn't envy the people in the local MVD in her hometown, because a lot of them were pretty tired and not happy with their work. But things have become easier, and people are generally becoming more positive in nature, optimistic as a result. So it's nonsense, but there's still going to be impolite and rude people everywhere, whether we like it or not. Just try and avoid them.
I think it depends which city you're in too, because in Moscow, people are way more serious. So if you're just walking on the street, then people they're very busy with their lives.
Focused.
Yeah. And whereas in St. Petersburg, people walk so much slower. They'll say hi. If you drop something, they'll pick it up and dust it off for you. You go into
Did you have that experience?
Yeah. Every time I go there, people are smiling and happy and just that, like, even at the productis and everything, it's, oh, here, I'll get your water, and you're okay. Oh, have a nice day.
Interesting, yeah.
And it's really, whenever I go there, like, wow, the sun doesn't shine off in here, but the people are shining somehow. but it is true in Moscow. It's, but I mean, also in Sochi, you meet a different kind of people. In Crimea and, all the other cities we've mentioned so far.
Vast, yeah.
So, but like we said when we talked about last time in our interview, how Russians, they are not as friendly to strangers. And so they're a lot more cold in this sense that they're not just going to smile at everybody. And in fact, if you're a woman, you better not smile at any random man or make eye contact, because they'll think you're coming on to him.
This is in every country.
So the normal, kind of American or Western smile, you see somebody make eye contact and a little, and then he's like, ooh, she likes me.
It's a signal.
It was really hard to break that myself.
I can imagine.
Habit, yeah, interesting, yeah.
And now going back to the States, it's really hard. I just look at people and they're like, Sarah's so cold now. She never smiles. Russia ruined
She's got
her.
that metro face, yeah.
But to me, it's, I would like if there was some kind of medium, that if people in general were a little more friendly, smiled a little more, or just didn't look so angry. Whereas in the States, it was also too much. That people were too smiley, too friendly, too willing to talk to strangers. And so having a medium here would be great.
I think it's hard to smile when it's -30 outside. So that's another reason.
Because your lips get stuck in.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, jokes aside, maybe we're not so, smiley as Western people. But if we become your friends, we're like real friends. We'll reach out for you. We'll go above and beyond for our friends. So, I don't think it's completely a stereotype that we are cold. We're maybe kind of cold and reserved. But when we open up, we'll open up completely.
Yeah,
true.
Then it's almost too much love.
Yeah,
okay, I can take it a little bit.
Exactly.
I agree. Because when I first came to Russia, I saw that people were more stone-faced. And I think in my country, it's a bit exaggerated, because I would see people be like, oh, hi, Hugh, how are the kids? Oh, yeah, no, you look lovely today, yeah.
Yeah.
And afterwards, they're like, I
OTT,
don't like this guy, right? So there's this fake sort of thing. So when a Russian person smiles at me, genuinely, they are smiling at me, and I'm like, oh, this person really likes me. In terms of being cold, I mean, my Russian family is pretty warm. you know, even with the weather. But very warm. You know, I feel like I'm at home. I've never felt like this before, actually, because I've lived in different countries, and this is probably the first time when I've been welcomed, you know. So it was the opposite of what people said. Cold, they're not going to show you love. You know, I get hugs, I get kisses on the cheek. And I basically come from a family because my family was basically from a period of time when, you know, there was an issue because a lot of, I would say colonists were there. So they grew to be a little bit cold. They weren't so into hugging, kissing, etc. Okay. So when I came here, I received so much affection. And I was shocked. I was like, aren't Russian people supposed to be cold? You know? And I got pretty used to it. So, you know, there we go. Well, just with some closing statements, if there are any other social media sites that you guys would like people to follow you on, feel free to share them now, and then we'll see the show out.
Well, as I mentioned before, Real Russian Recce is active at the moment on Telegram. RealRussianRecce.com has been created with my limited WordPress skills. So it is available, and events are happening and have been happening in November, December. Every month there's a minimum one event a month.
Yes.
People can Google Hugh McEnany and find out about acting and about charity work and volunteer work. I mean, we didn't really touch on it, but in terms of being more active in your community and settling into any country, frankly, I'm a big fan of just being able to have a perspective on your own stuff, because we all have stuff that we need to do. And as Sarah has said, you know, Moscow is, people are going so fast, and they don't have time to think about other people. But when we can stop and think about other people, it makes the world a better place. But thank you. It's been an interesting conversation. So.
Very well said. Ladies, I guess they're more private.
Well, I don't have any sites of myself that I'd promote, but there are 2 Telegram channels that I would really recommend for anybody who is interested in learning more about Russia and moving to Russia. One of them is Moscow Pals.
Yes, I'm an admin there. Thank you for reminding me. They were going to come for my neck.
There are thousands of people on that, and not just from Moscow, although mostly from Moscow. And you can find everything that you need, from help with accommodation to lawyers to secondhand clothes or schools for your kids, anything. And then there's a second one. It's fairly new, but this is Move to Russia, and it's Maria Butina's, kind of brainchild to help foreigners actually get the correct legal advice, because so many of these immigration lawyers, like we discussed, they'll tell you anything just to get you to pay, and then in the end they don't deliver anything.
I see.
And so she's trying to reform the whole system. So with Move to Russia, all of that is certified by one of the highest up in, one of the highest up in MVD. Trying to make this process much easier for foreigners. So any questions that you have, you can ask, and they go directly to her.
Yeah, she did a great job.
She is. Yeah. Really good job,
Well, I'm not active on social media, but there is one Telegram channel that I would advise, and this is AfroLev channel.
Wait, what channel is that?
What channel is that?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Yeah, this is why I popped the question, you see? She's my fan. Right, but thank you so much for joining us, guys.
No,
really, thank you very much.
Yeah. And guys, please check the description. I'm going to put all these links down. I'm also going to share the link to this studio as well. Come here if you're in Moscow. Very beautiful, as you can see. Lovely lighting, very comfortable, cozy. And if you get a chance to have your own podcast, I would recommend you come here. And thank you so much for being here. As always, you want to complete it for me? Or did you forget the slogan?
I know.
You probably
we are roaring truth.
Truth? To preserve your pretty voice. Ciao.
Ciao.
Oh, ciao.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.